Okay, guys, this is Nathan Wallace BAY BAY in the house. This is Nathan Wallace BAY BAY in the house. And today is my birthday. And that means tonight is the long awaited, much anticipated, always demanding June 4th MegaShow and its Quadruple Main Event. I'd like to send a congratulations to both El Hijo del Fantasma for becoming the interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion of the World, and Drake Maverick on being reinstated as an NXT superstar. And congratulations to Cody Rhodes, who just retained the AEW World TNT television title. Yes, sir. Join in the live chat. Comment around. Everybody around the world, join in the live chat. Let me see some chats. This is my birthday. This is my 30th birthday, the triple X size. As tonight, we are going to go over the June 4th MegaShow in its entirety. First of all, we have Names Video Wrestling After Dark on Max After Dark. Annie Social versus the Wicked Sisters. Marlon Lang versus Alicia Baker. Abigail Smallville versus Alyssa Reese. Bella Inc. Its main event is the Indecent Proposal Battle Royal for the love of Amanda Cerny, in which Linda Dupree Kavanaugh, who will later tonight present the GFW World Women's title to the winner, will be participating in. And after that, on WTTV4, it'll be Nate's Coliseum Video KO Nation. Starting off will be the three-time WBC Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Terrible Terry Norris, versus the former AOV Paperweight Champion, the Masked Fish. Well, Masked Fish has been fined $100 for his use of a crutch in many live events, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not brings it, because if he does so, he's going to get fined once more. It is Al Perez versus Murakami Kazunari from Japan, Bastion Booger versus Neptune Man, M-Dog 20 versus Playboy Buddy Rose, Josh Prohibition versus Maxine the Boss Frost, Creeping Death versus Big Budo, Cosmic Smasher versus Natasha Rattlesnake Rodriguez, Uncle Bam versus Rhea Sugar Ray Ryans. Two mystery contenders will vie for the Maccabea heavyweight title. And in the main event, Ray Boo Boo Mancini will defend the NABF, the North American Boxing Federation Welterweight Championship. And after that, on WXN Fox 59, Dreamland World Weekly, Next Gen Showtime Wrestling. Tegan Knox. Starting things off will be Tegan Knox, the girl with the shiniest wizard, versus super bad girl Penelope Ford, who is still reeling after getting thrown out of the AEW World Tag Team title match. And after that, Liv Morgan versus Chris Statlander. Dakota Kai versus Big Swole, coming off her big performance against Nyla Rose last night and ending up getting insulted by Dr. Britt Baker. Nevaeh versus Raquel Gonzalez. Callie Cat versus Kaden Carter. Georgia Washington versus Amber Nova. Dusva Tanya versus Zombie Sasha Banks. Garza Jr. and Laredo Kid versus Holly the Lotus Maya and Julie Squeeze Ginther. In a battle of tag team champions, Sho and Yo, Roppongi 3K, the IWGP World Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions versus the WWE Women's World Tag Team Champions, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. It'll be Dreamland World Weekly, Sports Channel All-Star Wrestling. Starting things off, Camille in a handicap match against Brewster Griffin and Steve Olszanowski. In a King of the Ring qualifying match, Mean Mike Miller versus Tracy Smothers. One fall, 20 minutes, Super Ninja versus Dirty White Boy. Natural Born Hacksaw, Butch Reed along with Slick against Jerry Stubbs. Former World Tag Team Champions, Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik against the Smos. And then, in its main event, for the Cool Rock Club TV title, James Kinchin versus Mike Golden. And then the only match on Dreamland World Weekly, Autistic Wrestling, the high science of sports entertainment on Sky Perfect TV in Japan. Eric the Red, Soldat Ustinov, and Tijo Khan against Arriba, Luis Martinez, Gino Brito, and Baron Von Raschke. It is Hernandez, Abdul. It is Dreamland World Weekly Top Rank Championship Wrestling on Outer Max. Starting things off, the King of the Ring qualifying match, Hernandez, Supermax against Abdullah the Butcher. The Killer Bees, otherwise known as Mass Confusion, against the NXT World Tag Team Champions, Imperium. Rugged Ronnie Garvin against Matt Riddle. Big Bubba Rogers against Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross, this is his warm-up match before facing Tommaso Ciampa at NXT TakeOver in Your House. Havoc of Impact Wrestling versus Rigoberto Lopez for the Spirit of the 60s Club TV title. The Cool Rock Club TV title and the Spirit of the 60s Club TV Championship, all sponsored by TV Music for You. And in the main event of that show, two former WWE World Heavyweight Champions will clash as Big Daddy Cool Diesel will take on the Joseph Seed of Monday Night's Seth Rollins. And in Dreamland World Weekly Top Rank Championship Wrestling on Max, we have in our first match, Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Old Jesse James in a King of the Ring qualifier. Dangerous Danny Davis versus Brian Powers. With no Robert Stone in her corner, Chelsea Green will take on Jinsei Shinzaki, otherwise known as Hakushi, along with Shinja in his corner. The Nasty Boys will take on Saturn and Cronus, the Eliminators. Cool Kurt Hennig from the AWA before he became Perfect versus the Creation of Devastation, Adam Bomb. And in this main event for the Spirit of the 70s Club TV title, Johnny Swinger versus Cowboy Tony. And Dreamland World Weekly Top Rank Championship Wrestling on 5-Star Max. Its first match will be under K1 rules. Nonito Donaire versus Anthony Jones. In a King of the Ring qualifying match. Thank you, Melvin. Bless your heart. And now, as I was saying, a King of the Ring qualifier between the Modern Day Warrior, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, will face Rohit Raju, the one-man Desi Hitman. as he calls himself. SWA rules match. Frankie Davis versus Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. The Destruction Crew will take on Best Friends AEW versus AWA. The Roadie will take on Aaliyah, looking to impress Robert Stone. And in this main event, Beef Wellington from Calgary Stampede Wrestling against Greg Gagne, the AWA's favorite son. Dreamland World Weekly. A top-ranked championship wrestling on Cinemax. As a mystery team will be taking on Terry Taylor and Eddie Gilbert. And probably Gallows and Anderson has just filled that breach. And another tag team match. Tito Santana and Coco Beware versus the Nightmares. Mabel, along with Oscar and Mo, will take on the Rockin' Rebel. In a King of the Ring qualifying match, Princess Kimberly of Impact Wrestling versus the Crippler Rip Oliver. One Man Gang versus the franchise Shane Douglas. And in the main event of that show, Nick Bockwinkel will take on Kent Debussy. Ames Coliseum Video Mountain Dew Sports Night will feature a 10-person tag team match. Raven, the Bruise Brothers, Beulah and Kimona against Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Steve McMichael, Elizabeth and Woman. Ames Coliseum Video Premier Wrestling Champions on WBA K7 Fox 38. Begins with a King of the Ring qualifying match. Steve Dr. Death Williams versus Grizzly Boone. Adorable Adrian Adonis versus Alan Madrill. The main event of that show, Fabulous Moolah versus Bull Nakano. And Nathan's Coliseum Video Premier Wrestling Champions on WTWO Channel 2. The Fabulous Rougeau Brothers against the Stud Stable. Suicide versus Jim Evans. Main event of that show for the Red Hot Club TV title by brought to you by Mystic Music, as Red Raider Pedro Godoy will meet the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. Nathan's Coliseum Video Premier Wrestling Champions on WTHI TV 10 begins with a minis tag team match. Little Beaver, Haiti Kid versus Lord Littlebrook and Lil Tokyo. And then the big boys go at it as Hillbilly Jim versus King Kong Bundy. And the main event will be a King of the Ring qualifier. Oleg Taktarov, the UFC 6 champion and former Russian World Sambo champion, against Steve Blackman, one of the most influential members of the WWE Attitude Era. Nathan's Coliseum Video Premier Wrestling Champions on HBO Family begins with a match under K1 rules, as one Domenico Roldan will take on Davey Moore. Tasha Steelz will take on Mickey Ward in a 2 5-minute round Chaos Rules match. The main event of that show will be Sugar Ray Leonard against Lupe Aquino. Nathan's Coliseum Video Premier Wrestling Champions on HBO pay-per-view begins when Wahoo McDaniels will go 3 5-minute rounds of Chaos Rules with Robert Sawyer. Marvelous Marvin Hagler under K1 rules will take on Cilio Olivar. And the main event will be a King of the Ring qualifying match. Nathan Jones, the Colossus of Baga Road, versus the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow. Nate Well Network Fight Night begins with Kevin Howard versus Javier Castillejo in a K1 rules match. In the main event, Therese Haugen, Miss Team USA 1984, against the Virtuoso, the newly anointed Impact Wrestling star, Deanna Purrazzo. No longer a gaijin, just a virtuosa. Weekly Wallace Thursday Night Fights on Access TV begins with Hercules Hernandez versus Keith Robertson. Greg the Hammer Valentine and D.L. Bravo will face Chris and Mark Youngblood. The main event of that show will be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Savannah Jackson. Weekly Wallace Friday Night Fights on WTBJ7, your hometown station. It'll be Ron Simmons versus TNT the Ninja. The Magnificent One, The Rock, Don Morocco against Red River Jack. The main event of that show will be a Texas bull rope match. Barry Windham against Bull Hurley. Weekly Wallace World Championship of Pro Wrestling on HBO Zone begins with George the Animal Steel versus Gil Guerrero. A steel cage match featuring Harley Race versus Timothy Thatcher, who just went through a beating with Matt Riddle in that cage pit fight with Matt Riddle. And then the Rest in Peace match, the fake Undertaker led by Ted DiBiase against the demon assassin Rosemary. And then we have GFW Explosion. It is a 3-match card. Billy Jack Haynes versus Skull Deep. The Rascals versus the Midnight Rockers. And in the main event of that show, for the UWF Southern States Heavyweight title, Cowboy Bob Orton defends against the Dingo Warrior. And GFW Driven. We have loads of matches on this one. Check this out. It is Sky High Lee versus Boyd Toller. The next one, Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, will be taking on the British Bulldogs. And how about this for a featured match? It is the Model, Rick Martel, versus the Z-Man, Tom Zink. It is Rob Van Dam of the Cancel Culture Movement, along with Katie Forbes against Killer Carl Cox. It is the Mummy against Macho Man Randy Savage, representing WrestleMania 10. The Desi Hit Squad without Rohit Raju against Paul Kelly and Dusty Wolf. Ernie Ladd versus the brutal Kona Crush. Tom Boogaloo Shaft versus Doink the Clown. Kelly Hu versus Selena De La Renta. And the main event of that show for the UWF World Junior Heavyweight Championship, Wildman Jack Armstrong defending against Vinny Valentino. And then GFW Amped begins with the Junkyard Dog, the JYD, against Kama the Supreme Fighting Machine. King Kong Brody. The two brutal guys who are about to go at it as King Kong Brody against Michael Elgin. It is Brutus the Barber Beefcake of the Chance of Redemption against Luscious Johnny V. We're about to see Bret Hart in 2 versions. Version 1, part of the Hart Foundation, as they take on the former ECW World Tag Team Champions, the Super Destroyers. Sorry. And who knows? Who will be the mystery tag team that will be challenging the Smoking Guns, and which title they're going after in the main event of tonight's GFW Amped. It is Nate Wow Network pay-per-view preview show on the Nate Wow Network. Fresh off their stinging loss to Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan, Kylie Ray and Susie will take on the hottest tag team combination of the 70s, Hartford and Reginald the Love Brothers. And then the pay-per-view buy-in kickoff show. Kiara Hogan versus Kelly Coble in an SWA rules match. A Caribbean strap match. Savio Vega versus Tommy Cairo. In a match where the loser must kneel and bow before the winner. Aldo Montoya attempting to get redemption for kissing the feet as he takes on the former AWA World Heavyweight Champion Jerry the King Lawler. And in the main event of that show, it is for the UWF American Heavyweight title. Dangerous Dan Spivey will defend against the Hot Rod Roddy Piper. And in the final match before the main card, it is the weekly Wallace special pay-per-view final countdown show. Juan Arias against Marlon Sterling. And we have gotten through the pre-shows. And we're going to cover the pay-per-view MegaShow. And it'll begin with a Zevo Land street fight. Roxy versus Luke Headley. It'll be the quarterfinals and semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament. The finals happening tonight. Ali the Fortune Fighter versus Mars Rocket for the TNA World Light Heavyweight Championship. Corrupted Jack Gallagher versus Chase Bridges for the TNA World Junior Heavyweight X Division title. Regular Finn Balor versus Freedom for the NWA X Division title. Chad Gable versus Tyler Breeze for the vacant GFW X Division Championship. Braxton Sutter 2017 versus the Demon King Finn Balor for the GFW Next Gen title. In a match to decide who is going to Nathan Wallace 2020 in Autistica Prime in Antarctica for a shot at the GFW World Women's title. Is it Ava Story or is it Princess Paige Morgan? And for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team titles, Sienna and Taryn Terrell, the Hot Mess Group, against the Rock and Rollies, Bad Hair Day and Misfit Molly. Zosua Mehmet, also known as Zoshana from Girls, will take on Sasha Memory Banks for the vacant TNA Knockouts title. And then, one of the most talked about matches. It is Allie 2017. It is Allie versus Ariel Red Winter for the vacant GFW World Women's title. Who do you think will win in this one? Is it Allie or is it Red? You decide. And an 8-person tag team match. The New Day, Biggie and Kofi, along with Mandy. He and Naomi will take on the Heavenly Bodies and the Quebecers. For the IPWF Global Tag Team titles, it is Team Pro Wrestling Noah, Taishi Shimori, and Naomichi Marufuji versus Otis and Tucker Heavy Machinery. For the vacant TNA World Tag Team titles, Santana and Ortiz of the Inner Circle versus The Bar, Cesaro and Sheamus. And then for the vacant GFW World Tag Team titles, the Bad Sons, Ecstatic and Tyler Aiken will take on Josh and Greg from Devin's Ghost. And then, much anticipated BYW rules match. That means it's no holds barred. Anything goes. Bart Onemy, Bizarre, from both of them represent Best of Backyard Wrestling Volume 1, Future Kings of the Ring. Commissioner versus Bart Onemy. Bizarre. And we proceed on from one no-holds-barred match to another for the GFW Hardcore title. Wicked Aleister Black versus Joe Cool. Mahabali Shera versus Overlord Joe for the TNA International Global title. Rob McBride versus Ace Haven for the TNA Legends title. The Outlaw D-Lock versus Eddie and Harry Potter for the TNA Television title. Mephisto from VTW versus Corbin the Gatekeeper for the TNA King of the Mountain Championship. It is The Fiend, Bray Wyatt versus the Living Legend, Larry Zbyszko for the vacant Impact brand title. It is Southern Blade versus Franken Strowman for the IPWF International Commonwealth Television title. And then we proceed on to our gigantic matches. The main event. The two co-main events. One of which, the bad blood between Mr. Gonosuke and Hayabusa has been boiling over for years. And it's finally going to come to a head the American way when we have them both wrestle each other in a Kiss My Foot match, which means the loser will have to kiss the foot of the winner. And then Moose. We proceed on from there to Moose, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Quite surprising that he has that belt as a result of what happened on Rebellion Night 2. So therefore, Moose will put up his TNA World Heavyweight title against Rocky V fighter and villain Tommy the Machine Gun. And we proceed on to our quadruple main event. The quadruple main event, one of which is the finals of the 2020 King of the Ring tournament. The second half of our quadruple main event, well, you guessed it. It is for the GFW Global Heavyweight Champion of the World. Is it a dual world champion or will it be a three-peat? As Drew McIntyre, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, will take on one half of the IWGP World Tag Team Champions, Hiroshi Tanahashi. It is Scottish Terminator versus the Ace of the Universe. Who do you think will come out as the new GFW Global Heavyweight Champion of the World? Is it McIntyre, the WWE Champion, or is it New Japan's Tanahashi? You decide. And we proceed on from there to the third half of our huge quadruple main event that will be occurring tonight. It is Impact Wrestling versus MLW. And you heard so much about it. You heard me talking so much about this match. And this time it'll be teams of 4. All 8 individuals will step into a special cage, each carrying a weapon of their choice. And the cage I'm talking about will not be surrounded by chain link fence. It will not be surrounded by barbed wire as they do in FMW. It will not be surrounded by chicken wire. It will not be surrounded by 2 miles of chain. And it will not be surrounded by bamboo. This cage is, those twin cages are so intense, one octagonal on the outside, one square to surround the ring, will only be surrounded by bulletproof plexiglass, as you heard me talk about. It is Team Impact Wrestling, comprised of the Impact World Champion Tessa Blanchard, Impact Knockouts Champion Jordan Grace, Impact X Division Champion Willie Mack, and Taya Valkyrie. Versus Team MLW, comprised of the MLW World Heavyweight Champion Jacob Fatu, Injustice, comprised of MLW World Middleweight Champion Myron Reed and Jordan Oliver, and finally, the leader of Team Filthy, Filthy Tom Lawler. And it is the first ever, and the name of this match you're asking? Well, it is the first ever an Arctic Frontier of Anarchy match. There. It is War Game. The Antarctic Frontier Anarchy match. It is War Games. ECW style. Ultimate Jeopardy. A match no one can afford to lose. And let me go over the rules. There are 7 periods in the Antarctic Frontier of Anarchy match. Now that is 8. The first period will last 5 minutes long, whilst all other periods will be 2 minutes in length. One person from each team will begin the match. At the conclusion of the 5-minute period, the head referee will then flip a coin, and the team that wins the all-important coin toss will gain the man advantage by sending a second team member into the Antarctic Frontier of Anarchy, and will maintain that handicap advantage through the majority of the match. At the conclusion of the second period, which will last 2 minutes, the disadvantaged team will send in its second wrestler, evening a matchup on 2-2. The teams alternate during remaining periods until all 8. Hey, count them, 8 this time. Until all 8 are in the cage, or in the Antarctic Frontier of Anarchy plexiglass cage. At that point, the match beyond begins. There are going to be 4 ways to win the match beyond in this first ever match. It is by pinfall, submission, knockout, or surrender. No countouts, no disqualifications. Official time will be kept at ringside, and the head referee will have final say pertaining to the outcome of the match and the timing of the periods in this first ever Antarctic Frontier of Anarchy match. And since it is an 8 wrestler field, 2 teams of 4, the Ultimate Jeopardy, it is Ultimate Jeopardy. No one can afford to lose. If Myron Reed or Jordan Oliver lose this match, Myron Reed will give up his MLW World Middleweight title, and Injustice will leave MLW forever to go to Impact Wrestling. What about this additional stipulation added last night? If Willie Mack loses this match, he will lose the Impact X Division Championship to an MLW representative. If Taya Valkyrie loses this match, then her manager John A. Bravo will be locked in the Antarctic Frontier Anarchy cage for 5 minutes with Team Filthy and Team Injustice. With Team Filthy. If Jordan Grace loses, then she'll be losing her title early the title will be vacant. She'll be stripped of the title early instead of losing it to Taya Valkyrie. That means if Jordan Grace loses this match, she will be stripped. She'll be stripped of the Impact Knockouts title. And if Filthy Tom Lawler loses this Antarctic Frontier of Anarchy match, do you know what's going to happen, everybody? Do you have a guess? Does everybody have a guess if Filthy Tom Lawler loses this match? Well, I know. Filthy Tom Lawler's head is getting shaved bald. That's right! They can shave his... Filthy Tom Lawler's head is getting shaved if he loses. Oh my god, like a cue ball, like an 8 ball, like one of them 3 Stooges. Gully, you know what I mean? Whoa, 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 whoa. One, and how about two additional stipulations? World champions putting their titles on the line in this match. That means, on one side, if Tessa Blanchard loses this match, she will lose the Impact World Championship to an MLW representative that defeats her by pin or submission. However, if Jacob Fatu loses this match, then he will lose the MLW World Heavyweight title to an Impact Wrestling representative who gets the pin or submission. So that is Ultimate Jeopardy, a match no one can afford to lose, and a match no. So it is the first ever Anarchic Frontier of Anarchy match. War Games, Ultimate Jeopardy style. A match no one can afford to lose, and a match no one can afford to miss. In the fourth and final half of our quadruple main event, it is WrestleMania 10 versus WrestleMania 35, as talked about. It is Money in the Bank Apocalypto. 6 from WrestleMania 10, 2 from WrestleMania 35 will collide, but only one will be the sole holder of the white Money in the Bank briefcase, which will have a contract in it this time. And it'll start in 2 holosuites. Ronda Rousey and Charlotte will begin in a holosuite hopping off the WrestleMania 35 arena. Whilst the 6 individuals who participated in WrestleMania 10, well, it is rewriting history, as they will be in a holosuite that will copy off Madison Square Garden, March 20th, 1994, in New York City. As they will be in the presence of the WrestleMania 10 arena. The Hitman, The Rocket, Yokozuna, Lex Luger, Razor Ramon, and Shawn Michaels. And soon, under FPW rules, you must eliminate one person at a time. Once the survivor does that, then he or she must climb a ladder, retrieve that white Money in the Bank briefcase that contains a contract, and that person will be declared the winner of the match. And that winner will guarantee him or herself a guaranteed future championship opportunity that can be cashed in at any time over the next 12 months. Oh my goodness. This mega show is sponsored by the following sponsors: Fight Night Incorporated, Roaring Lion Promotions, Prize Fight Promotions, Main Events Monitor Productions, Team Freedom Promotions, Cedric Kushner Promotions, Mirad Muhammad's M&M Promotions, Pizza Hut, Papa John's Pizza, DiGiorno's Pizza, Taco Bell, Taco Tequila here in Clinton, Adidas, Hendrix, Fubu, Nike, Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, Orange, Crush Orange Soda, and the undisputed king of beers, Budweiser. PS4, PS3, PS2, PS1, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo Entertainment System, and PC. This mega show is sanctioned, approved, and will be supervised by the following sanctioning bodies: the Zevo Sporting Game and Board Department of Professional Regulations, in which Leslie Zevo will be its promoter; Children Galactic Wrestling, Grandpa Muscle, Global Force Wrestling, Names Coliseum Video Promotions LLC, Weekly Wallace International Incorporated, Dreamland World Weekly Enterprises, the American Wrestling Association, and World Class Championship Wrestling Association. The officials assigned, as they are appointed: the supervisor of ring officials, former light heavyweight boxing champion of the world, Jose Torres. Timekeepers, Al Tremeri, Leonard Jacobson, and Mike Uchella. Counting for the knockdown seconds, Stephen McAdoo and Al Bisick. Physicians at ringside, Margaret Goodman, Michael Miller, Jerry Floyd, John Brody, J.R. Hitchion, paramedic Don Corsello. The judges in attendance so far are Ken Whitehead, Richard Garth, and Sean Corbett. The referees assigned for tonight's action: Jessio Hernandez, Dominic Nastasio, Harley Hogg, Pete Enriquez, Mike Figueroa, Mike Ennis, Marty Miller, Gary DeRusha, Scott Dickinson, Billy Silverman, Bob Serta, Mr. Tushaw, Vern Hernandez, Chang Pak Kim, Yuji Shimada, Daisuke Naguchi, Mills Lane, Richard Steele, Kenny Bayless, Eddie Cotton, and Bill Clancy. The ring announcers assigned for this evening's card: Jimmy Lennon Jr., Michael Buffer, David Penzer, Rockstar Spud, Brendan Baxter, Steve the Legend Rossi, Al Lerner, Gary Michael Capetta, Larry Nelson, Frank Eni, Chuck Hall, Steady Adarian, and Tai Fu Panda. Backstage interviewers, we have Jim Gray, former two-time heavyweight boxing champion of the world, George Foreman, 1990 version of Eric Bischoff, and Brian Ricco. Doing commentation for tonight, representing Global Force Wrestling, Cyrus Fees and Chael Sutton. Doing commentary for ABC, Keith Jackson and Alex Wallow. Commentating for HBO, Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant. Commentating for Showtime, we have Steve Albert and Bobby Ches. Commentating for Herb Abrams Universal Wrestling Federation, Greg DeGeorge, Carlo Gianelli, and John Tullis, the Golden Greek. Commentating for the American Wrestling Association, Ron Trungard and Lee Marshall. Commentating for Calgary Stampede, Eddie Whalen. Commentating for Continental Championship Wrestling is Gordon Sully. Commentating for World Class Championship Wrestling is Bill Mercer. Commentating for the WWE, its legendary commentators Jesse the Body Ventura and another birthday boy, the late great WWE Hall of Famer Gorilla Monsoon. Commentating for Impact Wrestling, we have Josh Matthews and 5-time Knockouts champion of the world, Madison Rayne. And commentating for CWA Memphis is Lance Russell and Dave Brown. And finally, the translators. In Spanish translation, we have Ray Torres. In Japanese translation, we have Ami Mizuno. So that is a look of what is ahead, and that is the sanctioning bodies that will run this entire card. And finally, let it be known that the winner of the GFW Global Heavyweight title match will then meet Catherine Hillard, who is cashing in her Chaos 2020 tournament winning privilege, and Nathan Bumaye 2020 in Artistica Prime in Antarctica in October of this year. And I say that wraps it up, Nathan. I'd like to thank everybody that has joined in. I'd like to thank everybody who is watching this event. I'd like to thank Hank and on behalf of Weekly Wallace, G, Nate's Global Force Wrestling, Nate's Coliseum Video, and Dreamland World Weekly, I want to thank you for joining me and joining us for this preview of the Mega Show. On behalf of those four organizations, I'm Nathan Wallace. Have a good afternoon and good night, everybody. And Dreamland World Weekly, Nate's Coliseum Video, Weekly Wallace, Nate's Global Force Wrestling. Now, let the talking stops and let the games begin.